Jen, I would just ask, 4-day trading week, what stood out to you today and just this week? Because once again, we're kind of having the same conversation for, I think, 5-6 weeks in a row, right? It feels like every Friday has been about how much strength the market's shown.
Two things. I mean, the market is incredibly powerful right now. It's only 5% off of its all-time highs. Looking at, soon we're going to be talking about not just the best January, but the best February. It's the best 2 months probably that we've put together. And when that happens, then usually the balance of the year is pretty good, except for two examples, 1987 and 1931. But forget those years. Don't worry about that.
Were those good years? I don't know.
Do you remember some things that happened in 1987?
Just quick aside, every market stat feels like it goes back to 1987. Doesn't it?
Because
the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. It was obviously an incredibly important year. But
I don't get it.
I think the internals here are what's impressive. They continue to be impressive once we went through the 200-day moving average and didn't look back. But now we have 90% of stocks above the 50-day moving average. And yet we still have people that are coming on the show talking about how they're still overweight cash.
Yeah. Well, it yields something, right?
But does that mean that, okay, that is actually the catalyst maybe that's going to get us up there because people still have stuff to put to work?
Right. Yeah, Sozzi, what do you make of this market?
Yeah, I'm looking for delusional investors or delusional investor trades. I look at Apple, up about 13% in the past month. The company had a horrible holiday season. It might be investors positioning over the next couple months. You'll probably learn more from Apple how they're going to spend their massive cash pile. That might be positioning there, might be positioning ahead of their next product release cycle. But for a company that just warned materially, that's a lot of respect being shown to Apple here. Let's get real here. It's spiked up on the charts. It passed key resistance. That is quite the move. And then secondarily off of that, look at the SOX index. The semiconductor index is about almost 19% year to date. That's a big move when inventories in the channel are still very, very high. A lot of these semis had awful holiday seasons. A lot of respect being shown these names.
I think it's just interesting how nothing about the fundamental backdrop, and that, of course, would just be earnings growth, has changed for corporates over the last 5 months. In fact, it's actually gotten worse, and yet the story has gotten better because the price of so many of these stocks is now higher than it was just a few months ago. And so it remains a very interesting time in the market because you talk about delusion, Sozzi, right? There's so many different stories that are kind of out of step with one another that you step back and you kind of say, all right, well, I guess the only thing that matters is the Fed. Right? If the Fed's not going to raise rates more, then you might as well bid stocks higher. And, when the market is telling you something on a trend basis, week after week, it logs more gains, then you kind of don't have to overthink it, right? I mean, why try to be a hero when the market continues to push higher? But, smarter people than me are the ones actually managing the money.
Jared Blickery, one of our very smart people, crunching some numbers for us that he just sent over. The Dow weekly streak of up 9 is the best in nearly 24 years. The prior streak was 10 weeks in 1995. I
think going to say 87.
I know. It'll be 87 soon. Don't worry. Don't worry.
How about the 11-week streak was in 87?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
It is the most important year.